Hi. Hello there. Hi. Welcome to Watchbox. This is, my name is Joshua Thanos. This is Jason Mane. You guys already know us. This is a new format called the Trading Desk, where Jason and I give you a sales perspective of the watch world once a week. All right. So, Jason, let's get right to it.
Get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, welcome to the first, I guess, the premiere episode. You notice the new set. We're trying some new things. Think promising things in the future. We got some cool little gimmicks, and you'll see some new slides come up on the screen that we've been working very hard on, our crew here. Yeah. So, like Josh said, the idea for our new show is going to be relatively short, probably about half an hour. We're going to shoot for maybe 45 minutes if we get really into talking with you guys. All about the live comments, so please, join in on the live chat. But basically, we're going to do rundown tonight. I think we're going to do some wrist shots. We're going to talk about some cool watches, a little bit of market analysis. So we'll start with what's on our wrist.
Yeah, wrist shots, man.
All right.
Jay, you want to go first?
I'll go ahead and do this. So
these are familiar to most of you guys if you've seen our shows with Tam or shows together.
I know all of you guys don't know anything about either one of us. So this is the PAM 510. It's my only Panerai. It's been fantastic watch to own. So that's an 8-day in-house manual movement. Sub-seconds. It's sitting on this Panerai official accordion strap. It's been on there for about 3 weeks, and I like it quite a bit. It's very comfortable.
Good for the summertime,
gives a little, summertime, gives a little sporty look. I like this accordion strap actually better than a regular Panerai strap. So, and loom for days on this guy.
Oh yeah,
and
awesome.
You will notice tonight's theme, I would say, seems to be Panerai.
Yeah.
We kind of made some picks and stuff, didn't coordinate with each other until we noticed this. So Josh's watch that he's wearing happens to be.
Oh, that's right. Well, we may or may not have had a in-house Panerai training this week, so it's kind of got us excited about Panerai. So what I have, and if you guys have seen the show before, let's see if we can get a nice wrist shot here. Can you zoom in there? So what I have today is my PAM 002. There's a cool story behind this watch. I've told it before. I'll give you the brief description. But basically, a friend of mine owns a hotel in the Caribbean. His friend was diving, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, found the watch off the coast, reported it, nobody claimed it, so he had it at his hotel. I stayed there. He showed it to me, asked me if it was real. It was. He sold it to me. I sent it to Panerai to be refurbished, and now I got it on my wrist. So if you notice the dial, this is a PAM 002, by the way. So it's a 3-year edition. This one's an A, so it's the first year that Panerai was working with Richemont or was owned by Richemont. It's an A serial, 1997, 1998, so it's roughly 20 to 21 years old. The dial's original. You can see it was pretty beat up, lost some lume on the dial, but I elected to keep that dial original, not have it replaced. I did replace the hands. So the dial is tritium, faded, beat up, looks destroyed, what they call patina. Right, and but the hands have been replaced. I do have the original hands, but I wanted to have some lume on my watch, and I also have this on this amazing powder blue strap that kind of matches my shirt today. Listen, I'm just so happy for warm weather. We're thawed out up here in the Northeast. Jason and I, if you don't know us, we're from South Florida, so we weren't used to that winter, and apparently that winter was pretty rough even by local standards.
We made it through.
We just thawed out. Just barely.
Just barely.
Yeah, man. So, so we're going Panerai heavy today. You have an 8-day movement on yours, right?
8-day in-house.
Yeah, mine's roughly like a 50-hour power reserve, maybe a little bit less. Actually, this might be 30-hour power reserve. It's an ETA.
Both cool watches for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So we just finished wrist shots. So next will be something that we've done in the past. It's called This or That. Wow, look at that guy. That's
state of the art right there.
That's some serious production.
Can we get a recognition for our production crew there on those?
Absolutely. So, all right. So today, This or That basically is a segment where I pick a watch, Jason picks a watch, two similar watches for certain reasons, either price point, look, or wearability, and basically you guys decide which one is the best. We normally have a poll. The poll website, which is not owned by us, is not working today. Shame on them. So what I want you guys to do is, in the chat box, just go ahead and send your vote. We'll have somebody count it up for you. So today, we'll start with this.
So, basically, Josh came to me this afternoon. He said, I'm going to pick this watch. Pick something that you think. And I wanted to go with something that was relatively comparable. So here we have the Zenith. This is the Type 20. This particular edition is a limited piece. It's called Beyond the Horizon. So it's the GMT variation, and it's a full titanium case, DLC'd, of course, in that beautiful blue. I happen to like this a little bit better than IWC because I feel like it's a little bit less of a watch that everybody has to have. Like the Petit Prince, for me, it's a little bit out there. and I happen to like the red accents on the blue as well. This particular piece has a really cool coin back, which I don't have a photo of, unfortunately, but it's the Flyer, which is the Wright brothers in 1903. It's a collaboration with that piece. So it's 2 millimeters larger than the Petit Prince in a 48, but it's a titanium case, so it's going to wear lighter.
Sure.
So I think this is a pretty valid pick. If you can find one, it retails for less than the Petit Prince. Probably going to be around the same price point now because it was only it was about, I think it was a 100-piece limited edition, or it might have been 50. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Retail?
You can find them for right around 10 now. Retail,
Gotcha.
yeah, was less than that.
Okay.
So, but I think they're both handsome watches and they're comparable for sure.
Listen, you stick to yours, I'll stick to mine. So my watch, the pick that I made, which I think should be the winner here, is the Petit Prince Big Pilot. This is an SIHH 2016 release. It's the traditional Big Pilot. It's the 5009 Big Pilot, 46 millimeter. Has the date at 6 p.m. right there, and like a sunburst blue dial. This watch was probably the biggest hit for IWC in the last about 3 or 4 years. All the Petit Princes with these blue dials have been like just unbelievable. Not really limited, right? Only limited to about how many they can make, but the demand has just been constant for this watch. I think it really did bring back their pilots line big time. So since then, they've made a bunch of like really cool vintage style pilots that have been done really well, and I think it really has been like this is the starting point for it. 46 millimeters, a little too large for my wrist, though. In a rotation, it would be great if I can't wear it as an everyday. There are guys who can pull that off. Just a little too big for me. It comes on that the Santoni strap, which is really cool. That was a great upgrade. People really love that. And what did I say? 46 millimeter. It's got a 7-day power reserve. What's the power reserve on the Zenith?
I believe it's 4 days.
Oh wow!
If I'm not mistaken.
Right, so not quite as good as the IWC. It sounds like.
But here's the thing, and I would argue 7-day power reserve on an automatic watch. I don't quite understand power reserve indicators on automatic watches. To be honest with you, I think it's a horse and pony show at that point. It's kind of a useless
show.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you for interrupting me. I was.
All right.
Does this work? Yep. Wait for it. Anyhow, so I personally think that the Zenith is cleaner. I think for the same amount of money, I'd rather have something that's limited instead of something that portrays the effect of being limited, and they're readily available. So for a while they were hard to get, but you can get one all day long. I'd rather have a piece that's numbered, and I'd rather, to be honest with you, have a GMT complication than a power reserve on an automatic watch. This is why I selected this.
I would agree with you in terms of the GMT. I like to see a Big Pilot GMT. I think that would be a hit for sure.
Also, so IWC moved to negative dates on a lot of their watches, and I would love to have seen a blue negative date window on this watch, just because there's so much going on with the dial already. That I feel like the space between the 5 and the 7 would have been appropriate.
Cool, great suggestion.
Both cool watches. Let us know what you think in the comment box.
Yeah. And speaking of the comment box, let's throw a little some shout outs.
Sure.
I want to say what's up to Matt Forster. Hey man, how are you enjoying that Patek? That's a nice watch. Edward Ledden, Amadigi D Guala. Probably didn't say that right, but hey, how are you? North Star, Simon Holt, Noah, Shannon, Sector Trial, JBO Surf, Weber Fan, Thumper JDM. Guys, I see you're all in the chat box. Happy to see you back.
Sure. Kyle K, Brian, a lot of, Matt Foster, a lot of familiar names in here. So we're happy to have you guys, logging in and enjoying the show with us. We know we were gone for a little while, so
yeah, it's been probably about 2 months or so.
Yeah, it's been about 2 months. We've been putting this together along with the guys behind the scenes, and hope the first episode comes off not too rusty and just gets better and better. So we'll go from here.
All right, cool. So so the next thing, and the main meat of this episode and what it should really be every week is going to be our weekly market assessment. We got a graphic for that. Boom! There you go. Graphics for days, guys. So basically, during this segment, we're just going to be talking about kind of what we're seeing from a week-to-week basis, because the market does move in some ways, week to week.
Sure.
So watches that we've been offered, say multiples of, people all of a sudden, if we sell 3 or 4 of the same model, that's important to know in terms of the market for the the watch market in general. So Jason, why don't you start it off?
Sure. So Josh and I were kind of talking about what we wanted this show to be about, and we knew we had a couple of these important key topics that we're going to hit, and one of them was this weekly market assessment. We've touched on this in past shows kind of very lightly about what's happening this week, so this is going to be an official staple of our show. One of the things we saw heavy movement on the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and we have some images for you guys, is the Lange, specifically the Datograph.
Yeah, the Datograph it seems to be very popular, at least in our room, and we get a lot of...
So here's a beautiful movement shot of...
That's platinum, or is that white gold?
That's the, I believe that's the white gold piece. And then rose gold as well, and then if we got some dollar shots, we pull.
I believe you sold one of each this week.
Yeah, sold one of each. Wow. I also bought a 39 white gold. So we've
39's the best one, by the way.
Yeah. Well, there's some. We'll go into that a little bit. I happen to like both of them, but I think I lean a little bit more towards the 41. I think the proportions of the 39 are better.
Oh yeah.
But from a collector standpoint, the 39 by far is a superior watch when we're talking about what we're talking about, which is market assessment. So it's a much more desirable piece, although both watches right now seem to be making a very strong movement. You know, I guess this could be a little bit of an insider thing for you if you're looking for one, you've been considering it. I think the market's going to start picking up on these guys. Guys that are aware that the market's starting to tightening up seem to be hitting us, dealers, as opposed to secondary. So now I feel like the market's tightening up a little bit. So yeah, I've personally sold one of each this week. I bought one of the 39 whites. I know we had a couple other guys get
I sold
inquiries.
About 2 weeks ago.
One.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I sold a 39 platinum to a customer who said it was his Grail watch and worked out for him. But yeah, we've seen these watches moving through the market in the last say month or so.
Sure. And then just to give you guys a rundown, if you are not familiar with the two different versions that we're talking about, so this watch comes in two versions. The 39 is now discontinued.
Yeah.
So 39, I believe it was 1999 was when the 39 came out.
Yes.
And that's the piece you're looking at now, which is the classic chronograph with the double digit at the top, the grande. And then I want to say it was when did the up down come out? Was it 2000? No,
Don't
it was 10 years. I think it was 2010.
2010. Okay.
Yeah. So the up down, which you're looking at here in the rose gold, simply refers to. So they changed the size from 39 to 41. They added a power reserve indicator, which you see at the 6 o'clock, which is not available on the 39. And the reason why there's a power reserve indicator is because the power reserve went from like 30 hours, something not great, 35 hours, to 60 hours.
That's right.
So it's part of that was the in-house mainspring, some tweaking. So most people consider the 41 a better watch mechanically, but the 39, being discontinued, harder to get, a little bit more romantic. It's just like cars. You're going to buy an older car. It's not going to be the better car, but it pulls at your...
Well, I mean, and for me personally, like I don't have the largest wrist. I got a little over a 7-inch wrist. I like Panerai. I've talked about it before, but I prefer, if I'm going to go for a Luminor, it has to be a manual wind because the case back's a little slimmer. It sits a little flatter on the wrist, which is, honestly, I mean, Panerai is moving everything towards a little bit slimmer cases, which, there's mixed results about that. But in that regard, I like the 39 because it wears so nicely on the wrist. I feel like the 41's a little overbearing for me. You have a larger wrist, probably wears a little bit nicer for you. The 39 feels a little petite for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know that I'd wear the 39, but I certainly do appreciate the cleaner dial aesthetic of the 39. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the power reserve indicators although it is refreshing to see a power reserve on a manual watch. So it definitely has a place here, and I think I do prefer the Roman numerals on the 39.
Sure.
Than just the markers.
Hash marks, yeah.
But both watches are pretty. Own one of each is what I'm trying to say. Buy one of each and sell me whatever you have to out of your collection to own one of each, because this is what you should do.
Like a Jason Pander.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're saying is that people are looking for. So I think this is a result in what we've talked about in the past of the Patek, Patek, Rolex, and Audemars kind of. The market tightening up real hard on those watches becoming a bit unattainable. Even regular production pieces are becoming unattainable, so people are looking to spend money where there's value. So they're looking, okay, well listen, if I wanted a stainless steel sub, I used to be able to walk into any AD on the street that I've never walked into before, find that watch and buy it. Now you can't, so Panerai is starting to raise in value because guys are looking that way, or Breitling, or Omega, or whatever it may be. Same thing with the higher echelon watches. So when a 5711 is a $50,000 watch, and you can buy a pre-owned a 39 millimeter datograph for in the same range, like you can't compare those watches outside the market, right? So from like a consumer standpoint, if you're going to spend 50 grand, do you want a Lange Datograph flyback or do you want a time and date, Nautilus? Well, it now becomes a conversation, right?
Yeah. So part of it is in direct result of what we talked to, because we know that everybody followed exactly what we said and went out and did what we told them to do. Right. Part of it is just the market that happens to agree with us. I think a lot of it is what we were talking about with things shrinking up, which you just mentioned. And then I think a lot of it is maybe guys that already had the 5711, guys that already had that 3-hand watch. That's true. Found that the, maybe the hype or the chase wasn't worth the spoil, right? Like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So they got the watch, they chased it down, the thrill of the hunt, you get it, you're not satisfied, so you sell the watch, and now you're looking for value. Now you have this money to play with. Let's say you made money on the Patek, right? Now you're looking for something that you can spend, and you're getting a flyback chronograph, manual power reserve, platinum case that
from one of the greatest manufacturers that exists.
So
right?
I think there is a lot of value. We talked about Journe. We both really love Journe.
Yeah, Journe's not going anywhere.
I think there's a lot of value in these brands. And I think Lange is certainly one of the heavy hitters when it comes to value proposition.
Agreed. And
pre-owned.
The thing about Lange is that we saw the market values for a lot of Langes kind of dip for the last 3, 4, 5 years, and I think it's an all boats rise kind of scenario when you see the standards all moving up in value. So now people are looking at Lange and saying, well, those used to be overpriced, but now quote unquote everything's overpriced. So now let's go back and look at and see real craftsmanship for the same money. It actually starts making sense.
I will argue that there are certain core models. So like the Datograph, the Zeitwerk, like those really never dropped as high as some of the other Langes. Yeah. But it's refreshing to see kind of a comeback for the brand, because for a long time they looked like they were going to get left behind with secondary market, and it's nice to see collectors starting to pay more attention and focusing their efforts towards scooping one of these up before they become $60,000 watches.
Yeah, maybe. So. We'll see what happens with those. So, all right. So Lange, that's one we have seen a lot of those move. Let's talk about what nobody wants to talk about, but everybody wants to talk about is Rolex. So, what have we seen? I noticed that the Batman that went up with the Hulk, went back down, and now the Batman's back up again. I went to IWJG. Yeah. So if you guys are familiar with what an IWJG is, it's an International Watch and Jewelry Guild show. So this is basically like a big trade show for watch dealers. They have one almost every month, different cities throughout the United States. It's where, if you go on Chrono 24 and you see all these different dealers that you see their names over and over again, those guys go to these shows and we trade watches amongst each other. So if I have a customer looking for a watch, or they have a customer looking for a watch, or they take a watch and trade that say they are not, it's not an easy sale for them. Panerai, for example, I buy a lot of Panerai at these shows because we like to somewhat specialize in Panerai. I know a lot about Panerai. I can almost identify every model just by looking at it. And if I found out that I'm probably one of the few people who can do that, me, myself, maybe O.J. Watley, and a few others can do so. So
shout out to O.J.
Yeah, shout out to O.J. Watley. But so that being said, we travel to these shows, and you can kind of see the market a little bit ahead and a little bit behind at a lot of these shows. So, you get probably out about 200 dealers in a room all at one time just moving watches, and you go up and, when I see a Batman, unworn Batman, new, considered by gray market dealers at, $10,000, $8,000, $11,000, that, hey, we might have to start paying more for these watches, because this is a watch that just a few weeks ago we were selling in unworn condition, pre-owned for $95. Now they're selling that that same watch selling for $10,500. So we have seen an uptick in that. Batman's, Hulks are also up. Regular subs still. Your pre-owned are still going right at list.
Specifically the non-date.
Well,
I'm just saying we're seeing
owner of a non-date.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of people prefer the non-date.
I guess.
And every call I get is, do you have a non-date sub? No. Okay. Well, do you have a regular date sub?
Yeah.
Seems like the non-date is the first. So going back to IWJG, what Josh is talking about is, if you think that 2 guys sitting next to each other, or 12 of us in an office that do this all day long is exciting. Yeah. Is exciting. This show is exciting. 2 of us sitting here. Mm-hmm. Imagine a whole auditorium full of guys, and this is all everybody does.
For
it's just hustle, bustle, 2 days of horse trading, and everybody's flipping stuff, turning around, selling it to the next guy, turning around, selling. So it's chaos.
Yeah. You see crazy things like, for example, I saw the ceramic perpetual calendar Audemars Royal Oak, so the new edition last year, the watch that nobody has seen. I had a customer ask me, I asked him how much he would sell it for. He looked at me dead in my face and said $500,000. Basically gave me the big FU. It's like, I'm not selling the watch. So I saw 4 of those in the room. All of them were asking $140,000. Now we're using the soundboard there. I don't think we can hear that, unfortunately. But yeah, so those guys were asking $140,000. There was 4 of them in the room. I think they only made 100. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they made 500, but say it was 100. So it's interesting when you go into a room like that and you can see what people have. Some guys are actually selling. Some guys are just showing off. Who knows? But you know, the room is dominated by Rolex, right, and that's where you can see the market on Rolex. You know, the value for us is the Panerais. We've been buying a lot of Audemars from those shows as well.
Also a market.
Yeah, I believe craze. Actually, if we can zoom in here, I believe I bought. So
for this. You guys, yeah, if you guys aren't aware, AP right now is also going through the roof.
There you go. So this is titanium offshore. I believe this is an E series. So this is like early 2000s. This is similar to what was just released as the homage piece. I forgot what they called it, but they just re-released a blue non-ceramic pusher stainless steel on a bracelet offshore as like an anniversary piece, so that this piece is kind of picked up. We picked up a few of those. That's another thing. So Audemars is moving up in value. We may or may not have had an Audemars training. We met with our rep, and they let us know that certain models are being discontinued. A lot of the offshores have been discontinued going forward, so we're probably going to see a little bump in value in those watches as well.
Yeah, AP's been on a continual rise in the last 4 or 5 months now, and it seems well, longer than that,
really
but
18 months, but yes.
Really noticeable, like where you just cannot get things for like the last 6 months or so. It seems like
they're doing a great job.
Yeah, they're doing a great job shoring up the market, closing down doors, figuring out how to go vertical. You know, it's a little scary when you start to look at this from a secondary market perspective. But if you think about it, all it does is make all the APs on the market more valuable.
All boats rise. Well,
right.
So since we started this channel, since my first show with Tim, and he asked me, you know, to talk about what I know about, which is the market, I've always said that there's 2 things that really determine value over the watch. It's going to be marketing and distribution. Those are the most important things. Unfortunately, really has nothing to do with the craftsmanship of the watch. You know, there's a baseline, of course. If your watches are crap and they break every month, then obviously no one's going to buy your watch. But say you make a good watch. Marketing and distribution are 2 most important things in terms of value retention. There's one name that comes to mind when we talk about being the kings at this, and that is
Rolex.
Right, Rolex. So Rolex is the king at marketing and distribution. They have it down to a science. Nobody does it better than them. Patek is number 2 right now. Number 3 is Audemars Piguet, and they did a big turnaround. You know, they changed out management in the last 2 years or so. You know, I think I talked about it before. They were interested in the pre-owned market. I myself actually went just about 2 years ago to their headquarters and basically taught them everything I know about the pre-owned market of watches. They started taking trade-ins, and now they're going to be, it was a press release, they're going to be doing that in-house. So they realize that the distribution is number 1, right? Marketing for them is not super important. They only make, roughly like 40,000 some odd watches every year.
It's not a whole lot.
There's demand. The demand exists. They just need to control distribution, and boy, did they do a good job. They changed it around in a year or so.
I'd love to see some other brands follow suit.
Yeah, well,
it's great for the market.
Panerai, I mean, as a Panerai lover, and that was one thing that was talked about during our Panerai training, is that the owner of Richemont really likes Panerai as his pet project.
Right.
He's, supposedly that's the brand that he really loves with his heart, and all the changes that you've seen with Panerai with their new models is gearing up towards cutting back on distribution and making the watches a little bit more scarce, which will hopefully solidify the market. We know, if you guys have been in the watch, collecting watches for the last 10, 15, 20 years, Panerai had its heyday. There was a time where all the Panerais were, reasonably priced but hard to get, and, their older pieces were like crazy out of control. Panerai 203s, the Angelus movement, were selling for
A-series.
That's all the A-series Panerais were crazy. Like there was a time where a watch like this would be worth $10,000 or $15,000. Right now, it's probably worth $4,000 or $5,000. So we've seen the market drop substantially. There was some missteps, just like anything else, but they are righting their ship. We have seen a pickup in Panerai prices. Yeah. I'm paying, as a dealer, as a reseller, right? Not somebody who gets to enjoy the watches, somebody who has to buy this purely to speculate and sell it. I'm paying more for Panerais than I ever have. I've been in this industry for about 5 years, right? You've been in it for about 10. So
a little longer than that. But
right.
to Josh's point, what we're seeing
a little bit longer.
So to what we're seeing is basically an uptick in Panerai too. We looked at the numbers just a couple days ago, and they're steadily climbing our charts as probably the third or fourth brand in our entire company as far as turnover. And you're seeing a lot of guys starting to get into their first Panerai, and maybe they're coming from brands that are higher than that. And just there's an appeal to Panerai, and we do that on a daily basis. We're trying to sell the brand, obviously.
I got called out in the chat box. Did I say this was a Patek 002?
I don't believe so.
No,
I didn't hear it.
This is a Panerai 002. Jonathan, hold your horses. I think you're wrong about that, man.
We'll replay the video.
Yeah, I'll watch
Go back
it over
to instant playback.
Exactly.
Do we have anything else for a weekly market?
I mean, I don't know. What are you seeing? Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
I think in the effort to keep the show kind of streamlined, maybe.
Okay, so
we'll move forward.
Okay.
I think Datograph. We did some AP. We did some Rolex. I have seen social media wise that some dealers are starting to get some of the root beers.
Oh yeah.
And some of the Pepsis.
Have we got any? I don't think so.
I don't think we've gotten our first.
Definitely have not gotten a Pepsi. Man.
Yeah. So Pepsis, I think, are starting to hit. Obviously, they're going to be very scarce, and root beers, I think, are starting to hit. So just a heads up, guys.
So I heard somebody sold a Pepsi, the new Pepsi, for $19,000. Is what I heard. An unsubstantiated claim.
So just after Basel, we said that was going to be a $20,000 watch.
So look at that. It looks like we kind of know what we're talking about.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right, cool. All right, so awesome. So that was our weekly market assessment. Next week we'll be talking hopefully a little bit different. So the next segment, which will be before we take some of your guys' questions. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat box. I'm trying to copy them down so we can address them. But the next segment is something that we've done before, which is what watches we bought this week. I think we have, bam, watches we bought. There we go. Cool. So you want to start with yours?
Yeah, you can go first. I went
cool.
first with this or that.
So what I bought this week, which was really cool, and if you haven't noticed, we're Panerai heavy this week, is something that a lot of you probably haven't seen before. Panerai, this one is basically new old stock, which is super cool. And could we get the close up there? Zoom in. Awesome. So if you see this watch and you're looking at that and you're like, Josh, I've seen that watch before, that's a Panerai 164. You would absolutely be wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about, and please log off immediately. Because this is called a PAM 301. That's right. So this is what they would call a ghost watch. Here, I'm going to go ahead and set it down. They call it a ghost. So what happens is when Panerai in the past, I don't think they do this anymore. I don't know if they do or not. But if they had, say they were going to make PAM 104s, right? They were going to make 1,500 of those this year, and so in order to control how many they make, or if cases break or whatever, so they'll make an extra 20% of cases, right? And same thing with the PAM, the 164. Say they were going to make 1,500 of those, they'll make an extra 20% of dials. Well, a couple years go by, it looks like they don't need any of those extra cases or dials. What they'll do is they'll smash those together and make something like this, and it's literally what they did. This is a PAM 164. Zoom in again. Let's get it away from my face here. It's a PAM 164 and a PAM 104 case. So it's a full polish from the factory case, like the PAM 104, with the dial of the 164. Right. This is a special edition. It's a caser, which I believe is 2008. Mm-hmm. They only made 500 of these. Right. So I've personally seen 3 of them in my last 5 years. I think the watch is awesome. I have never seen one unworn like this one. This one, actually, I got this. I'll be honest. I got this at a dealer show. So and it was an Italian dealer. So I think he might have actually got that in Italy. The watch is completely unworn. It's new old stock. I think it's super cool. So if you're into Panerai, if you're interested in something, different, that's like off the beaten path, that's not going to cost you $20,000 or $30,000, because I believe this watch is going to be less than 10. That's something that's super cool, and that's the watch that I really like this week.
Yeah, one of the things I like about that watch is it truly is, if you want to call it a ghost, it truly is something you don't see every day.
Right.
And you said you've seen 3. I may have seen less than that, to be honest with you. And what's really cool is, unless you're a Panerai head, a Panerai, you're not going to know what that is.
That's right.
Most people, even at a dealer show, you'll walk right past that thinking it's an over-polished, or the case is wrong, the dial's wrong, it's been messed with, or you might even think it's fake, and walk right past it, or and sometimes you can pick up great deals like that at shows where people aren't aware of the situation.
And I believe the reason why they call it a ghost is because it's not in the regular Panerai.
Right. It's also haunted.
It's not in their catalog. That's what it is. And it's haunted.
So we'll do the watch that I bought this week. I actually bought this today. And I was going to bring another piece on, And then I've always kind of liked this watch, so I figured let me bring this on. So what we have here is a very nice piece of ceramic.
Oh, dude, that's super cool.
You know, I just noticed that we both happen to pick full Arabic dials.
That's right.
Panerais. So this right here is the 438. You guys know the 438, right?
Tutanero.
The Tutanero, full ceramic case and bracelet, which wears really well. I am not a fan of Panerai bracelets, but there's something to be said for that ceramic bracelet. So this particular piece, obviously 44 millimeter case, the right Panerai size, and this is a 1950s case, which is their best-selling Luminor case, which we learned in the Panerai training we had.
By far, they said.
They by far eclipses the regular Luminor, which surprised me, to be quite honest with you. I prefer the regular Luminor case, but too narrow. I mean, can't go wrong. Full ceramic. These watches got really hot years ago.
So here's a story. That watch first came out. It was ungettable. I was working for Watch You Want. We got our hands on one like 2 days after it was released or after it was shipped. We had it on our website. I think we had it on a consignment basis. We were paying our customer, I think, say $20,000 for the watch. It's a 14.4 retail. He wanted $20,000. We said, all right, we'll consign it for that. It seems like, you know, there's got to be a market. Sold it. The first one of these watches that I believe in the U.S. we sold it for $22,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Certainly not worth that at this point. But I guess at that point, if you didn't want to wait, which there was somewhat of a lengthy waiting list, you couldn't get it in the U.S. That's what you pay. Now this watch sells under 10.
Yeah, you can get a. I mean, that'll probably be.
Was that $9,000 watch?
No, they're about 10 grand, 10.5. With full box papers, everything. You can get one that's like stickers, you know, if somebody held on to one for 11.5 or so, but you could readily get them for around 10, 10.5.
Well, it's still in the catalog, and it's a 14.4 retail.
I mean, listen, if somebody said name a Panerai that it absolutely goes against pretty much everything that you like about Panerai, and then you still love the watch, that's probably the watch for me. Yeah. Because I'm not a big all-black watch fan. I'm not a big 1950s fan. I'm not a big bracelet or ceramic watch fan. And that's all of those things in one, and the watch is amazing.
And people, I've heard many people tell me that ceramic can scratch. And I'll tell you this, it cannot scratch. It can chip, it can break, it can shatter, it cannot scratch. If you see scratches on your ceramic watch or ceramic Panerai, right, what you're seeing other material rubbed off on it. And I've seen so many times where somebody came in and said, hey man, I have this, I got this watch, it's scratched, took it into their watchmaker's room, they have this essentially an eraser, and they erase it off, it's good as new. Right. So the issue with ceramic is that it will chip, it's brittle, strong, right? Won't scratch, but it is brittle, which is kind of weird for Panerai because Panerais are known for getting the hell beat out of them. This watch, I'm keeping this in pretty good condition, which is, I'm pretty surprised at how well the full polished case is held up for me. But I beat the living hell out of these watches. That's why I can't own ceramic Panerai, even though I'd really love to.
The watchmakers have this abrasive pad that's basically harder than whatever scratched onto the watch, but softer than the ceramic, so there's no damage that can be done. So do not try and clean your ceramic watch with a hammer. It will not end well for you.
All right, cool. So those are the watches we bought in this week. Those will be for sale on the website in the next, 2-3 weeks, maybe 2-3 days, depending. All righty. So let's get some questions. You see any questions? Because I got a few.
We can surf through here. Why don't you start since you got a couple?
So I saw earlier. Let's see if I can pronounce his name. Didia. Oh no, it's D-Dial GA1, and he asked basically this or that. The Angenieur IWC Angenieur Chrono or a Rolex GMT Master 2 Batman as an everyday watch. So the Angenieur Chrono is going to be a 46 millimeter, yeah? Yeah. It's probably going to be on a rubber strap. For me, I'd say it's a toss-up. I mean, I'd say that's actually a pretty good two-watch collection. If you're going to go that way.
That's a tough question because I don't think that they relate to each other quite well.
But they could be both daily wears.
I think you own both watches. I don't think it's a watch that you own one and it doesn't make sense to own the other is what I'm saying. They go well together. I would, obviously I'd probably say the Batman, although I don't think the Batman's necessarily an everyday color scheme. Right. But the watch is going to wear better on a daily basis. Yeah. I think the IWC's too big. We've seen tons of these on the great market. So if you want something that one is going to have the exclusivity, the Rolex is it. It's going to wear better on a daily basis. It's going to hold up better, probably, the Rolex. The IWC has those angular case lines, which is cool on the wrist. Yeah. but tends to lend itself well to, if you've ever seen cars that have like that line in the car and then you get a dent right there.
Yeah.
It looks really bad when the sunlight hits it. Same thing with those type of cases. So for that question specifically, I'd probably go with the Batman.
You go
Plus
for the
the
Batman?
market's way up on the Batman right now.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, you know what, I'll be contrary. I'll say I think I like the Ingeneur. There's a titanium model that I really like. You can get a really good value for those watches. Was not, obviously you see, and I'm guessing he's talking about the last, though I didn't even ask, I didn't even think about it, because they did just come out with a new Ingeneur. So I'm thinking about the last generation, which I guess would have been like the second gen or third gen, I don't know, but like the more angular, not the new round style.
Engine turn dials.
Personally, listen, we're dealers for IWC. We're going to sell those watches. Personally, I don't like the new Ingeneurs. It's not my favorite. Alan in our office, who will probably be on the show at one point, he's a fan of those. I'm not a fan of the new Ingeneurs. I kind of like the previous, though. They did not sell well to retail, and there's a reason why they updated them. That being said, you can get those watches at a tremendous value in regards to their original retail price. So for that reason, I'll pick the Ingeneur, say put it on a rubber strap. It's an everyday wear. You can even get a leather strap, and that's what I like about strap watches, that you know, I can wear this out to, well, I mean, this, I guess, with this strap, I guess to a club or something. But, you know, I can dress it up. I can put a black leather strap on my Panerai, and now I can wear it with a tuxedo, or I can put a rubber strap and take it into the ocean. That's why I personally like watches on straps better than watches on bracelets.
All things with Josh lead back to Panerai.
That's right.
Got I got a question in here. I believe it was Mike K. Is asking, what are your thoughts on the green sticker on the older Rolexes? Do they lose value if you take the green sticker off? I got to be honest with you guys. This is probably one of the largest myths of Rolex that I personally, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. If the case back is not scratched up, great. I think primarily people think that if they leave the green sticker on the watch, it adds authenticity to the watch. I don't necessarily see it that way. You know, Rolex stopped doing the green sticker a while back, so unless you have something that's just been sitting in the safe and is never worn, which, to be honest with you, I think is a shame. The watch is meant to be worn. So if you have something that's been sitting in the safe and has a green sticker and it's 30 years old, I wouldn't take the sticker off of it, because for the sake of the watch. But if it's something that you wear every day and it has a green sticker on there, it's probably pretty gross by now. And I would take it off. I'd just be careful. One of the big pet peeves I have is when people lay the bracelet on a table with the bracelet and the back of the watch touching each other, as opposed to laying
when I do that.
as opposed to laying the watches down on the table like we have here. When you put a watch down, it should be crown up.
Yep, always crown up. No crown down,
always crown up, and you lay it down like this. Even if it's on a bracelet, like you see the AP here on our table, right? This is how professional watch people put watches down. Okay.
Semi-professional.
So semi-professional. Josh is standing in as our semi-pro. Crown up, watch bracelet not touching the case back. Although on that particular model, I don't think it would if you tried.
Panerai. Sorry, there's a drinking game now.
Yeah.
So. Panerai.
Oh, that's only fun if we got a bottle as well, which I don't think my flask is in my bag. So.
Alrighty. So let's do one more question and then we'll close it out. You see another one? Because I got a few here.
Yeah, go for it. What do you got?
All right, so let's see here. David Hefken is asking, how often do we see third-generation overseas? He didn't specify chronos, but chronos is what we see most often. How often do we see them now, and what are we actually usually asking for? He said black or blue, so it's a big difference between black and blue right now, right? So, I mean, we've seen them pretty often, yeah?
Yeah, we see them pretty often. I think... So at first, I think there was major pushback against the V3s,
Even
right?
for me. Yeah.
Even for me. I still don't quite like the V3. But major pushback across the board. Pretty much anybody that had any interest in buying a Vacheron overseas chrono that was on the fence was waiting for the V3, right? So the V2 kind of dropped a little bit because they weren't selling. Everybody was waiting. The V3 came out. Major pushback at all the shows. Everybody was upset with the watch for one point or another, and then the V2s just skyrocketed. Yeah, prices went through the roof. V3s, you know, they couldn't sell them at retail. Now they're starting to level out a little bit.
Well, what do? They help. It's distribution. They made the watch hard to get. They stopped shipping them for a few months, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, people are like, "Hey, where can I get this watch?" So you call your local AD. Hey, I want to go pick up one of those Vacherons. You guys have one in our case? No, don't have one.
100% true, but also 100% artificially created.
It's all artificially created. I mean, it's no different with
it all
Rolex
is. But so in my opinion, V2 is a better watch. I like the V2 better. Make that clear. V3s, we're starting to see a lot of them trading.
We have on our website.
We're starting to see a lot of them coming in from guys who are collectors that like the watch. They're not getting rid of them because they don't like them anymore. And I think that the chrono is a great watch. I think the V3 non-chronos are kind of where the ball gets dropped a little bit, in my opinion. But
so I want to address.
There is a huge differential between blue and black. So
in terms of better watch, I'd say that I want to clarify the second generation seems to wear better. We like the proportions better. In terms of better watch, I mean, you can't really compare.
If I'm going to own one or the other,
fair enough.
I'm going to own the two.
But I mean, the technology in the third gen is certainly better. I just wish the execution was better. I mean, I think we can agree, right?
It's just like the up down.
Yeah,
technology's better, but the 39 sells better.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think we're done. Let's get out of here.
Just
all right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for sticking around with us. I know we went over time. We'll get better about this moving forward. You can see all of our information here. That's my cell phone number, and that's his cell phone number, right? There. So if you want to talk to us any time of the day or night, you can give us a call. We probably won't always answer, but if we do, then we'll be talking to you. Also, want you to subscribe to our channel. It's very important. Subscription is very important for us. Check out our app. We have the Watchbox app. You can build your whole collection and keep track of that on there. There's also a program that kind of tells you roughly what market price is. If you don't agree with that or you want to know what somebody like us would pay, give us a call. We'll talk to you about that.
You can text
also, Watchbox Global on Instagram. Yes. Also, I'm Mr. Thanos, Mr. Thanos on Instagram. You're some weird wonky name.
It's EVOX4B11.
Right. He needs to change that. So yeah, Instagram, Watchbox Global, Mr. Thanos, something Evox, whatever.
Comment in the below if you think I should change my name.
Yeah, for sure. And is there anything else I'm missing, guys?
I don't think so.
No?
Let us know what you thought of the program.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Help us curate.
Criticism.
Exactly. We're trying to get some new segments, so if there's anything you want to see, if you have any questions that you want us to answer that are short, concise, and not going to take up the entire show, send it to us. You have our email addresses. It's jthanos@Gottberg or
JasonM@GottbergWatches.com.
Right. Help us curate the show. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you later.